All right, fourth graders, today in math, we are on page 649. And we are talking about tenths and hundredths on a number line. So while I'm waiting for this to load, if you would get a ruler, that would be super helpful for the lesson today to have something to look at. All right, and your Bible verse today is actually your Bible verse for the week. 1 Corinthians 2, verse 9. However, as it is written, what no eye has seen, what no ear has heard, and what no human mind has conceived, the things God has prepared for those who love him. So we can't even conceive what God has prepared for us, which is so cool. All right, in your math notebooks, we are on lesson 102. Page 649 is where we are starting. And we are talking about tenths and hundredths on a number line. Give you a minute to get that written down and get your ruler. And I'm going to kind of switch a little bit. I'm going to go from a screen that has your book in it to follow along and to kind of help you with this, because this can kind of be a trickier subject. All right. So we've used decimal numbers to name lengths that include a fraction of a centimeter. For instance, the length of this segment can be written as 23 millimeters or 2 3/10 centimeters. So you can see the line. It stops at 23 millimeters or 2 3/10 centimeters. Likewise, on this number line below, the distance between every two whole numbers is divided into 10 equal parts. The arrow is pointing to the number 3 1/10 because it's one dash over from the 3, which we can write as a mixed number or a decimal. 3 1/10 or 3 1/10, 3.1. If the distance between whole numbers on a number line is divided into 100 parts, and you'll be able to see that there are very tiny lines there, then points between whole numbers may need to be written with 2 decimal places. The arrow below is pointing to 3 25 hundredths. You have to count 25 over, which can be written as 3.25 or as 3 25 hundredths. If you inspect a meter stick, you will see it's divided into 100 centimeters. Each centimeter is 1/100th of a meter. So a pencil that's 18 centimeters long, or 18 hundredths of a meter long, they would be the same length. All right, I'm going to X out of that, and I'm going to go to our the presentation view for our lesson today. Mental math, always super helpful to do that at home with your family. All right, so Santiago is 162 centimeters tall. What is his height in meters? So we want to know how tall he is in meters. So I'm going to make this screen smaller and make a new page. All right. So instead of drawing out something with 162, we're going to just solve it by kind of memorizing a little bit. We've already done this before. I'm trying to move it so we can see both screens. Come on. There we go. All right, so he's 162 centimeters tall. Well, how tall is that in meters? So we know that meters are bigger than centimeters. Centimeters are a lot smaller. So his height in meters is not going to be 100. So if we know that 100 centimeters equals 1 meter, Santiago's height is 1 meter plus 62 centimeters. Since 62 centimeters equals 62 hundredths of a meter, Santiago is 1 and 62 hundredths meters tall. So that is the best way to solve that one. You shouldn't have to draw it out. That would take a very long time. All right. Write the decimal number to which each arrow points. All right, so if we look at our first one, we can tell by the dashes that it's divided into 10 parts. So we just have to count over. So each line is worth 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The longer one is 5, 6. Okay, so this first one is going to be 6. It's 6 over from the 9. Nice. There it is. All right, so it is 6 over from the 9. Now, would it make sense for us to say 96? That doesn't make any sense. So we know our whole number is 9. The big black bold 9. And then we know it's a decimal because it's telling us which decimal number. 9 and it's 6 over. So 9 and 6. Now, this one doesn't have a label, so it's kind of a weird problem. But normally you label it with centimeters or millimeters. But in this case, it's not labeled. So we're just going to leave it that way. All right, now letter B. You look at it and think, wow, that is a lot of lines. Like a little millipede with lots of legs. So this one is divided into hundredths. So that means we're going to have 2 places after the decimal that we have to write a number for. So we have 7 and 1 tenths, 7 and 2 tenths, 7 and 3 tenths, 7 and 4 tenths, 7 and 5 tenths. All right. So I have my whole number for all of these is 7. So I can leave that at 7. Now, if I count over, it's 2 places over. So my 2 is going in the 100 spot. So I put that 2 places over in my 100 spot. This is my 100 spot. This is my tenths spot. Okay, my tenths is going to stay the 5. So 7 and 52 hundredths. So I counted 2 over. That goes in my 100 spot because there are 100 of the little lines. And the other lines, the decimal 0, decimal 1, decimal 2, decimal 3, those are in tenths. So I keep my 5 the same. And my 2, I count over 1 more. All right. Now we are rounding these numbers that we have to the nearest whole number. All righty. So we are rounding 9 and 6 tenths. I'm going to erase this. 9 and 6 tenths to the nearest whole number. This is where we use our skills. 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, stay at rest. So this decimal number, 9 and 6 tenths, is between the whole numbers 9 and 10. Halfway is 9 and 5 tenths. 9 and 6 tenths is greater than halfway, so that would round to 10. Okay, easy peasy. Second one, 7 and 52 hundredths. They want us to round it to the nearest tenth. So that's right here. It is like rounding it to the nearest 10 cents. So just to $7.52 is between $7.50 and $7.60. 7 and 52 hundredths is between 7 and 5 tenths and 7 and 6 tenths. In this case, it is closer to 7 and 5 tenths. So that is how we round it. Now, I'm going to go back a page and show you. If you look at the number line, it's a lot closer to 7 and 5 tenths than 7 and 6 tenths. So that's another way, a visual of how you can see how that is rounded. Pause for a second. All right, And then the last one says to estimate the sum to the nearest whole number. So estimate means we're going to be doing some rounding in order to find the sum. And we know what the sum is. The sum is when we add two numbers. So we just have to round and then add. Okay, so we're going to round 4 87/100 to the nearest whole number. So I'm going to use my 8 to tell me what to do with the 4. My 8 is bossy. It tells my 4 to raise the score to 5. So that is my first number. My second one is 3 11/100. So my bossy one tells my 3 to stay at rest. So 5 plus 3, and that equals 8. All right, so we rounded up to 5 and we stayed at rest at 3 and we got 8. For the next activity, if you have a meter stick, measuring the heights and widths of rectangular objects at home is super great. You do not have to do that. It's just another good way to practice this skill that we've learned. All right, so you do need to do the lesson practice problems as part of your math assignment today, letters A through K. And then once those are done, you need to also do the even problems on these pages 651 to 653. Okay, so that is your math work for today. Hopefully that lesson made sense. As always, feel free to contact me if you have questions.